president released a statement that tomorrow he's going to be unveiling his plan to clear out criminals from Washington, D.C. He said there's going to be no more Mr. Nice Guy, and I have a very real possibility of what's going to happen with that. He stated that he's going to be during the roundup of the homeless and going after so-called criminals, a label that is very easily altered to go after political opponents and protesters. Framing this is very easy. It's law and order, it's cleaning up the streets, restoring the Capitol. But if you look past the sound bites and the words that he uses directly, there are many directions that it could take, but there's one specific that I think it will, and this has already happened elsewhere, to tell you what that would look like. Trump is a big fan of freedom cities, which are going to be labeled as special economic zones or innovation hubs. In reality, what they are is deregulated corporate enclaves. These are cities that are deregulated, and they're carved out of government control, and they're handed over to private investors. They have their own laws, their own tax systems, and their own police. Where this has already happened in practice is Prospera in Honduras. Prospera was built on the promise of economic prosperity, but what it delivered was the complete erosion of democracy, constitutional violations, environmental destruction, and levels of inequality that Honduras had never seen before. It's backed by billionaire investors like Sam Altman, Peter Thiel, and Mark Andreessen, along with libertarian think tanks like the Cato Institute. And even after the Honduras Supreme Court ruled it unconstitutional, Prospera still exists and is currently in a lawsuit due to international arbitration with Honduras for a third of the country's GDP, roughly. The moves being made in DC right now are the first steps of what that looks like, of what happens. It's military presence and forced removals were the first stage. I will give you the 5 stages of what happened with Prospera and what that translates to looking like in Washington, D.C. Stage 1 is population cleanout. Protesters, criminals, homeless, anyone who's very likely to resist has got to go. Make it look like a cleanup restoration operation, restore the city, be proud about it. It's a move that is symbolized by safety and national pride. Stage 2, if it was in DC, would be a governance overhaul, which would require the erosion of the Home Rule Act, which normally that would be something that was done in legislation, but given Donald Trump's tendency, it will be just through an executive order. What this will do is empower a private board of governors to handle the affairs of Washington, D.C., or any other city that has this happen to it in the United States. This hands over control of things like policing, zoning, taxation, and even courts. Residents stop being citizens in a democratic sense, then they start being more like clients or customers, because this is now an economic arrangement or contractual government. Stage 3 is investor courtship and deregulation. You tear up existing regulations, you create tax holidays, and fast track corporate permits and things. The media will report this as an economic boom. It's very successful. It'll come at the cost of tenant rights, workers' rights, and environmental damage. Stage 4 would be the privatization of public assets. This includes things like any public utilities, parks, libraries, etc. These will all be sold or leased to private investors and managed by them. Formerly, public spaces become restricted type zones because they will no longer be subject to the same rules that they are today. And more than likely, following the Honduras model, these will be only sold, not through normal government contractual regulation, but to politically aligned investors. And the final stage of that would be the attempt to replicate it and showcasing the success of the project, to hit the news, try to push it into other areas. Some cities will be more receptive than others. You will have local governments that want to try this. Once it spreads, it's no longer the exception or a project, it becomes the rule. Reversing it becomes politically impossible. And in the case of Honduras, futile. If Washington, D.C. or any other city follows Prospera's pathway, it's going to result in budgetary crises in the form of massive reductions in tax revenue that cannot be replaced, as well as lawsuits to these private investors who now have new grounds to sue the city for enormous monetary rewards. There will be constant constitutional conflict between the zones, the companies, and the state and federal governments. This will steadily convert, truly and officially, the United States democracy into private hands. These aren't systems for clearing the streets or anything like that. They are transitioning every asset of the United States and the government itself and the laws that we all live in into private hands directly, instead of just through the current democracy oligarchical model that we're in. This is corporate city-states and things that are so dystopian that it's unreal, but they've been drafting legislation to try to have this happen in the United States for quite a few years. Trump loves the idea, and this is just one hell of an opportunity for billionaires like Peter Thiel to really get their claws in and dig and just completely destabilize the United States and fully cement it as a corporate playground. Truly, what they can do here is something the world has never seen and really doesn't need.